Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am back with another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys. And this message, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. And the translation of that message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My story, my brother, it goes on like this. I used to work for this other Indian man. So whilst I was working for that Indian man, the man was not paying me a lot of money. Actually, this man, he had sort of like a phone shop. Then on the other side of the shop, there was a clothing shop. So each and every time, like in that day, if we were not going to sell anything, then the man would not give me money for transport, and I'll end up walking back to the location where I was staying. Sometimes I would start walking around 5. That is when we would close the shop. Then I would arrive in the location somewhere around past 6 because it was a little bit of a long way. Then there was this other man. This man, he like stopped for me one day when I was going to that location. I then got into his car, even though I was really scared of him because the car, it was a very beautiful car that he was traveling in. And this man, when I got into his car, he was really nice towards me, but I felt something bad, like I didn't feel good as I was in his car. The man tried to make me feel comfortable, but I was not comfortable because of the things that he had told me. This man had told me that he had been watching me for about a month now. So when he said that he had been watching me for a month, I was scared because I thought that maybe it was the police and stuff like that. And since I didn't have any papers, maybe he was here to arrest me. But it didn't make sense, like for someone to watch me for a month so that they can just arrest me because I was not a criminal. I just didn't have any papers at all. The man then said, "Relax, why are you so tense?" I then asked him why he had been watching me for about a month. Then this man said that he had been watching me for a month because the first time that he saw me, he felt that he wanted to be close to me. He just wanted to know more about me. I said, "What do you mean that you want to know more about me?" He then told me his own personal story, like his background. He said that since he is someone who has a lot of money, it is very difficult for him to get a woman that can love him just for being him and not love him for the money. So even though in the circle of his friends there were some women that wanted to enter into a relationship with him, but he was not willing to do that. He wanted to choose someone that was poor so that he can help that person that was poor. And when he was driving around on this mission, that was when he came across me, and he said that he had liked me when he found out that I was from Zim. When this man told me that he had found out that I was from Zim, I really got the shock of my life because he just said that he was told that I was from Zim. And I said, "Who told you that I am from Zim?" Because we had never spoken before. He just said that, "I just found out that you are from Zim." Later on, Brother Nashi, I then found out that this man, he knows everything about anything that he wants to know. So this man, after chatting with me, he then went and dropped me at the place where I was staying. When I got off from his car, the girl that I was staying with, she then started clapping her hands when I entered into the room where we were sharing. She wanted to know who this guy was, and as she was celebrating, then we had a knock on the door. It was that same guy. This guy, he had been standing at the door just listening to our conversation, and I really got ashamed because I pretended to that girl that I was staying with that this was my boyfriend. This guy, after we had opened the door for him and we didn't want him to get inside because our room, it was a poor girl's room. There was nothing there. So my friend went and spoke with him. Then that guy said that he had forgotten to give me something. This man then just gave my friend a bundle of money. This was like the first time, Brother Nashi, to see money personally that were in a bundle. So after my friend had collected that cash, then she came indoors and that man went back to his car. We just opened the curtain just a little bit and we watched him as he went to the car. My friend was actually pinching me and she was like, please, if you get married to this guy, never forget about me. Never forget about me. We then counted the money when we were sure that this man, he had gone, and we locked the door because we were afraid that he was going to come back. So when we counted the money, this cash, Brother Nashi, that this man had given me, it was 15k. We counted this money over and over again, and this was like the first time like ever having money on me, so much money like that. I then started communicating with this guy. The next time around, I had showed him the place where I was working, so he would regularly come over to the place where I was working, and he told me that he didn't like the way that I was being mistreated by that man that I was working for, who was an Indian. And the other reason why that man had been mistreating me, it was because when I started working for him, he said that he wanted me and him to date, but I didn't want to do that. I was just scared because he was someone who was married. So that was another reason why he was like mistreating me. So that guy then said that I do not want you to work for him anymore. I am just going to be paying you whilst you are staying somewhere else. Every month you are going to be getting your salary. He then asked me how much I wanted as a salary each and every month. Brother Nashi, as someone who had never had the opportunity to earn a meaningful salary, I just said that, just give me 8k, I'll be fine. He then said, okay, if that is what you want, I am going to give you that amount of money. When I met this man, it was in 2015, but it was the end of 2015. That was when I met this man. I told him that I was going back home, so at least he was supposed to know now that I was dating him. Brother Nashi, this man, what he did to me, no one had ever done such a thing. This man said, okay, I do not want you like to go back home without having anything. I said, but the money that you have been giving me, I have been keeping it separately, so I have money that is enough. He then said that he didn't want me to go back home using the bus. He was going to make a plan for me so that I can go back home using an aeroplane. I then said that it means that I have to go back and fix my papers there by the border so that I'll be able to use the aeroplane. So that is what we did. Me and him, we drove back to the border and I left him on the South African side and I went back to the Zim side and I came back again. After that, the man said that, can't you find someone who will be able to go with the grocery? And he meant like those Malaysia. And I said, yes, I can get them. I then found this other guy whom I used to send some parcels with back home. That is the man who went with my groceries. Me and this guy that I was dating, we went to Macro, and when we went there, Brother Nashi, we shopped and we shopped. It was a lot of groceries. This man, he bought so much groceries for me as if he wanted me to start up my small shop there back home. When I went back home, my mom, she was happy that I had returned back home, but she was like very cautious about a new son-in-law. This man, what he would do is that on a daily basis, he would call me for more than 2 hours, and he was not using a WhatsApp call. He was like using a direct call, and it was like he was recharging his phone with loads and loads of airtime. We would speak, Brother Nashi, until people would start complaining, especially my mom. My mom then started telling me that I should stay away from this guy and I was supposed to learn him. My mother then gave me advice and she said that I needed to find out why this man that was really rich was so much into me. But I said that when God has blessed you, you will never believe it. This was our own chance. This man had told me that the next trip when I would return back to South Africa, we were going to the court so that we can have our own wedding. And this was like the thing that I had been praying for. When the time came for me to return back to South Africa, the man had already booked a ticket for me. But Brother Nashi, when I arrived back in South Africa, I got stuck there at the airport at OR Tambo. The guy didn't come. I don't know why he was not picking picking up his phone call. Since I had some money, I then got a taxi and I went and I stayed at this guest house. I just Googled whatever I could find that was close to the airport, and I was staying there and I was waiting for him. He went for several days, Brother Nashi, without ever communicating with me. After a couple of days, whilst I was staying there, when the money was like now running out, that was when he came back into communication with me. He told me of a story of how they had been traveling using this private jet, and when they were... He then told me of this other story. I don't know if the story was real or not. He said that they were traveling for this other business trip. It then happened that they were supposed to refuel their private jet. They were supposed to do it in Ghana. Whilst they were there, then things got so wrong and they had to wait for their private jet to be fixed. Brother Nashi, I didn't know anything, so I believed it. This man came and I was now like staying with him, but he had another family somewhere else. But him and his wife, they were no longer together, but we were staying at another place. Whilst I was staying with him at that place, each and every day, my mom, she was now like irritating me because she was the only one who was not supportive of my relationship. As for my brother-in-law, he had already made some plans with my husband to be about the business plans that my brother had. My brother had said that instead of him praying for my bride price, if he could get us like a truck via the bank, a truck that can be used to generate money. So this man had agreed to what my brother had said. Instead of him paying for my bride price, he was just going to get a truck for my brother. Then everything would be sorted out. But my mom was totally against this idea. Then each and every day, my mom would wake up. So each and every day when I would wake up, I would always find this irritating message that would have been sent by my mom here telling me that she had a bad dream. My mom would tell me that she saw my head as it was in a small plastic dish and there was blood all over, and I was vomiting money like I had already died, but my head was still alive even though the rest of my body had already been buried. Then my head was the one that was vomiting money. Brother Nashi, these were like the most irritating messages that I was getting from my mom. I even thought of blocking her until I would have reached a point whereby I'll be able to prove to her that all the witchcraft that she had been thinking was going to happen to me did not happen as she had thought that it was going to happen. Brother Nashimi and this man, we stayed together for only 4 months whilst we were staying together. And after he had told me that he had successfully gotten divorced from his wife, there was now hope for us that one day we were going to get married to each other. I don't know what happened on that day. This man, he received a phone call. This was somewhere around 4 a.m. And the men that were speaking with him, Brother Nashi, even though I do not want to be judgmental or what, but this man sounded as if he had a Western African accent. He immediately got out of bed and he seemed to be very scared of something. So as a man who has a lot of businesses, he was always like that, like always making sure that his businesses are okay. So I just thought that maybe something bad had happened at one of his business sites. So I let him go without ever asking him or questioning him because I didn't want to stress him out. He left the house. This was somewhere around 4:30, and Brother Nashi, he only came late at night, and when he came back it was somewhere around 11 p.m. and I had been alone just thinking as to what this man was all up to. So it happened that I then entered into this other room. It was because I was just stressed out, and as a woman, you know, when you are staying with a man, you sometimes get so jealous. So I was thinking that he is also cheating on me. I started going around, snooping around, looking everywhere, Brother Nashi, as I was doing my spring cleaning, because I was telling myself that if this guy is cheating on me, I know that a man can always make a mistake, and he was going to forget something that would have belonged to the woman that he will be dating. I looked everywhere, but I could not see anything. It then came to my mind that there was this other room after I had moved in with him, this room, it was always kept. When I started staying with him, like with his car keys, there was a spare key that belonged to that room. But the next time around when I checked, then that spare key had gone missing. Brother Nashi, when I was walking around, what I saw on that door made me want to get inside that room, because I saw that he had forgotten that key whilst it was on that door. So I opened it. When I opened that door that led to that room, I didn't see anything funny. It was just a normal room, but it had no furniture at all. It had some tiling, some nice tiling, and this tiling, they were like designed, you know, those Chinese designs, that those were the tiling that those were the designs that were on those tiles. I then just said there is nothing here, and I wanted to move back to the bedroom so that I can snoop around. This time around, I just wanted to make sure that I leave no stone unturned. Just when I turned around, that was when I felt that there was a sudden change of temperature in that room, because it was cold, but now it was like really warm, as if there was someone who had switched on a heater in that room. When I looked around, Brother Nash, I then got the shock of my life, because I saw some candles. These candles, the way that they were set on the floor, it was more like a triangle. Then at the tip of that triangle, there was a small plastic dish, just like my mom had been dreaming about. And I saw that inside that plastic dish, there was a mutilated head that once belonged to a black doll. This mutilated head, Brother Nashi, it had been painted red. And inside that plastic dish, I saw that there were 3 bundles of money. I don't know how much it was, but it seemed to be a lot of money. Brother Nashi, I ran out of that room. I kept on running until I reached downstairs. When I was about to go back upstairs so that I can collect my clothes and the other brand new phone that he had bought for me, because that was like the only item that I could resell so that I can restart my life, because I didn't want to be with him anymore. When I was about to go upstairs, that was when he called me on the other phone that I was using, because now I had 2 phones in Android and I also had an iPhone. Just before I could go upstairs again to get that iPhone, then he called me, and I was scared, because he told me that he was apologizing to me when he called me, and he told me that he was on his way back home. And at the mall which he said that he was at, I knew by the name of the shop which he was at. That is the shop that he loved to buy some food. He was asking me what kind of food that I wanted, because he wanted to buy some food for me. Brother Nash, I just said you can buy what I then said that you can buy for me whatever food that you are buying for yourself. After he had dropped the call, he texted me and he said that he loved me a lot. Brother, I just responded and I said, I can't wait to be with him, and I was missing him. My brother, after I had texted him, I just ran out of the house. I left everything just like the way it was. All the doors were opened. I didn't even have the chance to lock up the doors or to do anything. Even when I was like getting out of the yard, the gardener who was there was also surprised, because I was walking really fast, and I lied to the gardener that there was this other sister of mine that I wanted to meet just outside, so she was passing through. Once I had gotten out of the yard, my brother, I ran like I was a mad woman until I had reached this other street that goes back into town, whereby I knew that it would be easy for me to get a taxi. Just when I got into the taxi, when I looked around, I then saw his car as it was turning into the street that me and him was staying. My brother, I just started praying and I prayed so much. That taxi reached the taxi rank. I didn't even waste any time. I then spoke with this other girl, but she was staying in another location. I told her that I wanted to go to her place if there was anyone there who could give me the keys, because I knew that there were some people that she used to leave the keys for her house with. I then went straight to the location where she was staying. This friend of mine, the man that I was now staying with, he didn't know about that friend of mine. Later on, I then received a text message. This text message, it was from my other friend, that one whom I had left in that other location. She told me that my husband to be had came crying to her, and he was looking for me, and he was saying that I had ran away with another lover. So this girl was angry at me. He was like, God had given you a chance to be a rich woman. Look what you have done. But my brother, I didn't even tell her the truth at that time. I just lied to her, and I told her that no, this man is an abusive man. The reason as to why I didn't tell her the truth, it was because I could not yet understand exactly what was going on. When I told my mom then said that, right now, my daughter, I want you to return back home. I said, I do not have anything. I have no money. I have no clothes, because when I got out of the house, I had nothing. I was actually wearing some morning shoes, and that was all that I had. My mom said that what matters is for you to return back home alive. And my mom then said that she was going to speak with one of the bus drivers that I was using to send back some groceries, and she was going to pay that bus driver once he would have taken me back home to Zim. And that is what happened. My mom had to sell one of her livestock so that she can be able to buy that bus, so that she could be able to pay for that bus ticket, because this was like a pay forward, so it was much more expensive. My brother, I then returned back home, and it was by the grace of God. When I told my mom this story that had happened to me, she said, I knew it that the man that you was dating, the man was not okay. From the day that you told me that you are dating this man, I was having sleepless nights about you. That is why I was telling you to pray, and to pray always. My mom then told me that ever since she started to have those dreams, she had been fasting, and she had been fasting so that God can keep me safe. I am so thankful for my mom. I was even thinking of blocking her at that time, but I didn't know that my mom at that time, whilst I was angry at her, she was suffering. She was going on a fasting period, like on a daily basis, because of the dreams that she was having. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received. Then we had to give you this translation.